Hello and welcome to Thriving in Business with Kirsty Waite. As you know, this week we're doing some sessions around getting guests on and exploring how they thrive in their business and how they intentionally created their thriving business. So today I'm joined by the amazing Jeff Brown, who's more commonly known, I think, on LinkedIn as a photographer's mentor. So welcome, Jeff.
Thank you, Kirsty. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you. And what a fascinating career and business that you have. And I'm really excited to learn more about it and to share it to the audience. So yeah, let's get started. So do you want to just briefly tell people who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I used to be a photographer. I retired from photography last year. Did my last wedding last year, which was actually a friend of ours' wedding, wasn't it?
Yes.
You know, Stephen. And Stephen was a friend of mine in the Royal Navy. So I started off as a Royal Navy photographer. I did 10 years in the military as a photographer. And then I set up on my own with another Royal Navy photographer. And we started a business together. And in 15 years, we grew that to 5 photography businesses. And then in 2015, I had a change of circumstances, moved away from the area, got divorced. Stupidly bought a pub, a food pub, which went horribly wrong, and I lost about £160,000 in 12 months, and then ran away to Northumberland, where I now run a mentoring business, which I've been doing for about 6 or 7 years now. So I work with clients in around 20 different countries around the world, and I'm an ambassador for about 8 different photography brands, and I work one-to-one with photographers, but I also produce books, produce content for magazines, blog posts. It's all about helping photographers, motivating them and inspiring them to make more money out of their business.
Amazing. So that's quite a lesson you learned there when you went off down a different route.
It was. And you know what? I think one of the best things for me, and it seems daft saying it now, but that failure at the time was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. And you know, it did take me to a really bad place. I tried to take my own life. I suffered from a lot of depression. It took us about 6 or 8 months to get out of that after losing, £160,000 and losing the pub and everything. But that set me on a new direction. So if I hadn't made that loss, I wouldn't have changed my career to being an online mentor. I wouldn't have moved away to the countryside in a beautiful area surrounded by all these gorgeous views. I never would have ended up there. I still would have been in the city. So you know, from even the worst failures comes the next generation. And what got me through that was, I think, inspirational audiobooks and walking the dog. That sorted out my mind and got me fueled up and ready to go again.
And walking the dogs and back to nature, I love that, kind of just getting out there and clearing your mind. And when you talk about that kind of transition and that trigger, that you had to hit that rock bottom before you then found really where you've truly thrived and become so aligned. So what was the trigger to get you back into your photography, or had you never really give it up?
I hadn't really given it up, but I always knew that I was good at marketing it. And from being a military photographer to be civilian photographer and doing weddings and portraits, we did a lot of boudoir. I did over 4,000 boudoir, like lingerie shoots. We did product photography. So we had 5 different businesses. But at that time, I would say that I probably wasn't that an amazing photographer, but the business was very, very successful. And the business was successful because of the marketing and the branding, where photographers aren't usually very good at marketing and branding. So it was my knowledge of marketing and branding that helped catapult the business forward. And sometimes I felt that we didn't really deserve to earn the money that we were earning when there was photographers who were wedding and portrait photographers who'd been going maybe 10 or 12 years, a lot more experienced, much better photographers, but they didn't have that marketing and branding background, so they couldn't communicate correctly with the client. So it became a bit of a mission for me to help photographers. And most of the photographers in my program are far better photographers than me, but they're crap at marketing and they're crap at branding. So they don't need to buy another lens. They don't need to buy another camera. What they need to do is get the message right and get that message out to their ideal client.
Yeah. And I think you see that a lot in business, isn't it? It's not always the most talented or the most knowledgeable people that survive. It's the ones who've kind of nailed that marketing piece, but also got that resilience and that grit to just kind of keep on going and make it work. And so, because when you mentioned that we met through a mutual friend, and before I actually met you, I'd heard so much about the infamous Jeff, who has this amazing business that he just loves and he really enjoys it and he really likes it. And from an external party, I was like, oh, Jeff sounds amazing. Like, how does Jeff create this? And then the more that I've come to know you and your business, it's very clear that you're really passionate about what you do. And you obviously get fulfillment and joy from what you do.
Yeah. Yeah. So it doesn't feel like work. Like this morning I started work. I was actually up at 3:30 this morning. And last night I had a couple of clients and one person interested in joining my program messaged me at 7:00. I said, I'll jump on a call. And they're like, really, at this time of night? I went, yeah, I don't mind. I live on my own. I see my daughter at weekends. And it's a passion of mine, but it's the flexibility as well. So I got up this morning to do stuff because I wanted to. I'm driven by that. And for me, it never feels like a day of work. And I really, and what really drives me is seeing other people succeed, seeing my clients succeed. And because you yourself, you do one-to-one training. When you do a level of one-to-one training with people, they become your friends. So after a certain number of calls, the formalities stop, and then you're like, oh, how are things? How are things? How was your weekend? Did you go out for a drink? What have you been up to? So because you become attached to these people, and they become within your circle of friends, you feel really good when you see them achieve something, and then you see them succeed. So that for me is one of the biggest buzzes about my job. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and I can relate to that because that's exactly what I want for my clients, and I love that. And so so that's kind of like you've gone from your military days through to owning a pub, being a photographer, and now the business that you've got now, where it just does not feel like work. Where was the trigger point to intentionally create what you have now?
One of the big trigger point was obviously the failure of the pub and then moving away. Yeah. But at that time, whatever added to the sort of like the level of depression and stuff. I was going through a divorce as well at the time, which now I get on great with my ex-wife. I had a fantastic relationship, based around my daughter. But one of the big things was that change in circumstances. And at the time I was probably doing about, I don't know, maybe 60 odd weddings a year. And then to suddenly be divorced and then seeing my daughter every other weekend, I thought there's no way I can, if I'm doing 60 weddings a year, I'm not going to see my daughter in a full year, So I knew that my lifestyle had to change, and I had to develop a business the business was around my time. And so that, this weekend when I see Uriah, I'm not going to be doing any work. We're just going to be out walking and spend time with the dog. So it's that flexibility I wanted. Yes, I had a lot of money before the pub, and we had the 5 businesses, but it was, so I've been there with the big money, the really busy, the staff. Then I went to a pub that had 18 staff, and now there's just me and a few freelancers. The turnover is nowhere near as big, but the money I'm making is actually more than, because it's not getting divided up between staff and as many overheads and stuff. But I have what's called a lifestyle business. I don't want to be making millions. I want to be enjoying the money I earn and spending time with my daughter and doing something that really rewards us.
Yeah. And it's not all about the money, is it? And I know when you say that, people go, oh yeah, it's all right if you've got money to say that. But when you've come from having a lot of money to that doesn't fulfill you, that didn't bring you the happiness that you think, that people think that if you had £1 million in the bank, you'd automatically wake up and you'd be happy. That's not the case, is it? So how important is it to ensure that you create that fulfillment right now? Obviously, it sounds really important with your daughter.
Yeah. Oh, massive. I mean, I've been through, I think one of the things that money can bring you, money brings you that security to be able to enjoy your life a bit more without the worries. So I think once you get over that initial, yes, the bills are covered, then no matter how much more stuff you buy, it's not going to make you any more happier. It's what you do with your time that makes you happier, not that, because you buy anything, buy something new and then you're bored of it within a week. So, I think, it's all about making memories, and doing stuff, spending time with that. She's 14-year-old now. And for me, it's a bit of a buzz when she says, oh, Dad, I want to come up and see you this weekend. And she takes precedent over coming to see me than going out with our mates.
Yeah.
because I will be ditched in another year and a half's time or something like that. But you've got to make the most of it, haven't you?
Absolutely, for sure. So what values is important to you in your business now? So as you grow your business, because you're always evolving, and I know you've got another book out, and you've got your course, and you're always collaborating. So how do you maintain those core values as you constantly growing and developing?
My values comes down to being who I am, being authentic, just being Jeff, being there for everybody. So I always say to people, message me on LinkedIn if you've got a question. And I always leave voice clips back to people. It's so easy to do a quick voice clip. But one of my core values within the business is I don't sell. So if you want to jump on a call with me and I offer a free advice call, 30-minute free advice call, I'll give you 30 minutes worth of free advice and I won't ask for a sale at the end of it. My job within that call is to impress the socks off whoever I'm on the call with. So they think, my God, if this is what Jeff gives us for free, what's he going to give us when I pay him? And because I'm from a marketing background, there's a lot of marketeers that get bad press because that's what they do. They do a free call, but the free call is actually a sales call and you get signed. And if you're going to be somebody's mentor and you want to work with them, you do want them to feel like they've been pressurized onto something. So for me, it's be authentic, be genuine, and don't sell. Be yourself.
And it's having integrity with that as well, isn't it? It's like doing what you say you're going to do. And those values are really kind of aligned with my kind of business as well. And that's when you say like that, don't sell. Every month I offer 4 free pro bono coaching sessions. And I remember getting on a call, and I don't sell on them calls. They purely are, I want to give back. I want to help to those businesses that can't afford coaching. And I remember getting on one call with this lady and I was explaining the structure of the call. And she was like, yeah, but then you've got to factor in the account 20 minutes of the sale at the end. I'm like, no, I'm not going to sell to you at the end. Like, this is it. I want to help and support you. So I think, unfortunately, people's opinion are, if you're offering something for free, they're going to get sold to, aren't they? That's what they assume is going to happen. So, yeah, that sounds great. So if you, looking back on that amazing journey, the ups and downs and the success of it all to bring you to this really aligned place with your business, what, if you could share one piece of advice with your younger self or to the audience listening now, what would it be?
Don't stress about stuff. You know what now is I realized that how much, especially when I was really, I had the 5 businesses and I used to stress a lot. And now I can't remember the last time I raised my voice. And never stress about anything. Nothing bothers us. And I think, 80% of the time you stress about stuff that hasn't actually happened. And because I've been to the point where I made a lot of money and then I lost absolutely everything and went to the point of severe depression and then have come back up again. I've been at both levels. And I've seen when I had a lot of money, I wasn't happy and ended up having a divorce and then losing everything. And then when I lost everything, I had nothing. But I had to get out there and make myself happy by walking the dog and listening to positivity books to bring my mood back up. So after going through that, I don't think there's not really that much to stress about, because I've dealt with the crap side of things. I've dealt with the busy stress and I've dealt with the depression stress. So I always think I'll just deal with it when it actually comes knocking at my door.
Yeah. That's what's really inspiring in that is the lesson from the people listening is it doesn't matter how bad things get, you can always turn it around. You can always come back from that brink. You can always recreate something that works for you. Like, you're not stuck in that moment in time, are you? Like, you don't let that define you, because you could have quite easily gone in that point, oh my God, I've lost all this money. I'm having a divorce. I'm going through this really rubbish time. You could have let that define you, but you haven't. You've kind of just gone, right, what do I love? What do I want to create? And you've just gone on and created that and been incredibly successful at it.
That's it. And it's you are in charge very much of your own destiny. It's how I think the thing is, if you can visualize and if you can, there's loads of these books, like The Secret and stuff like that, but it does really work. If you visualize it, if you really believe it, if you're passionate about it, you find a way to make it happen. And the more you can visualize it in your mind and see it, and the more you set yourself goals and then there's no point in sitting there I'm going to visualize, and then open the door looking out for a big bag of money. It's not going to happen. But if you have a goal and then every day you spend 10, 15 minutes and do just one little thing towards that goal, it's going to eventually happen. And it's like the book writing, I didn't write a book in a day. You write a book. With my morning coffee, I'm going to write 500 words this morning. And what I did is created a for both books, I created a habit where I come downstairs in the morning, switch the coffee machine on, let the dog out. I go into the living room. I've got one of these woodwick candles that crackles and a really nice chair. And I sit in the armchair. I don't come in the office here and work. I sit in the armchair in the living room with my coffee and a crackling candle, and I type 500 words. I've got a little app on my phone, which is like it's called a writer meter. And I type my 500 words. And you know what? That's enjoyable because I feel like I'm having a treat because I've got the candle on. It's nice. I'm sitting in the comfy chair. I'm not here. I'm not working.
Yeah.
If
that sounds idyllic.
If I came and did it in here, I probably wouldn't have the same feel. So I don't have that friction. Mentally, I'm like, I'm not working. I'm like, look at me. I've got my coffee and I'm just sitting here.
I'm having a good time. Yeah. And I think that's important, isn't it? Because when you think of them big goals, if you said, oh, let's write a book, everyone thinks of this mountain of like the hours I've got to put in, the words that I've got to write, like the thousands and thousands of words. Like actually, when you break it down to such a small step where it's every single day, it's action. And for me, like I always say, like unless at the end of unless you've taken a step forward, it doesn't have to be big or small, then you're not moving, are you? You're just staying still. It remains a dream. It remains a vision. So unless you're creating that actionable step, you're not moving forward. So creating it in a way that feels good, even like a treat, because when you were talking about that candle, it sounds idyllic. Like you could see yourself, I could visualize myself sitting there and enjoying doing that versus I'm going to write 40,000 words of a book. Oh my God, when am I going to fit that in? Yeah. And it's been intentional, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's very similar, you know, like they say, like one of the hardest parts about going to the gym is actually the drive there, getting you the motivation to get to, and when you get to the gym, it's not that bad and you really enjoy the workout. Yeah. And it's using that same mindset with the writing to make opening the laptop and sitting down and starting and easy. There's no friction. There's no like, oh God, I've got to write for my book. I'm actually, I can't wait, you know, and I've got my coffee. And so it's making that enjoyable.
Yeah. So what does 2022 hold for you, Jeff?
So I've got another 3 books. I'm on to my 3rd book at the moment. Got another 3 books to come out this year. I've got a couple of speaking events booked in London and in Scotland. I'd like to do some international speaking events, but obviously see what happens with the travel. And just more sort of like involvement within the industry, giving as much back as I possibly can to the photography industry and helping people with free advice and tips and utilizing LinkedIn.
Yeah. What is really clear that's coming across is like the passion that you have just for helping and supporting other people. And that's what kind of ignites that passion and drive, isn't it, of the fulfillment and enjoyment in what you're creating every day.
Yeah, and I think, you know, if you give away genuinely, if you give away freely, then the sales come to yourself. And I know, you know, I've got a lot of followers in like India and Africa, and I know that, you know, my program course is probably out of their price range, but I still want to deliver as much value to people who can't afford, because I want them to, for me, I think there's so many really talented photographers out there who are undervaluing themselves. And what happens with photographers, the big problem, and I know that because I am one, is when people don't pay a high value for your services, you start to doubt your ability as a photographer. But it's got nothing to do with your ability as a photographer. It's got to do with the way that you branded yourself, because you don't look premium. People don't have a good perceived value in your services. Once you turn that value around, the photography remains the same, but the people, your clients, become the high-end clients and they pay the premium. And there's so many really talented photographers not getting the money they should be getting. So it's my passion to help them turn that around and make a lot more money.
I love that. Absolutely love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And I hope that, well, I'm sure the audience got so much out of that. And so if people wanted to find you, is it LinkedIn? Where is it the best place to come and find you?
LinkedIn, just drop me a connection request on LinkedIn. And I've got a website, which is thephotographersmentor.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Jeff. So please let us know any comments, any feedback, any questions that you may have below, and we'll get back to you. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. Thanks again, Kirsty. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.